Welcome to another episode of the Productivity Lovers Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Productivity Lovers Podcast, the podcast about how to become more productive in your work and home environment. The Productivity Lovers Podcast is brought to you by Cris and I, a certified professional organizer, and Dudley, a digital productivity coach. Buckle up and enjoy the show.
Hello.
Hi, Dudley. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. I am super excited to have my parents visiting.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I haven't seen them in almost 2 years, like in real life. I've seen them on FaceTime, of course. But yeah, so it's kind of nice having them back. Normally, I would see them all the time. They live in a different state, but we would travel back and forth. They would come see me quite a bit. And that just hasn't happened because of, pandemic. So I'm happy to have them here. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I missed them.
I know it's kind of crazy. A couple of weeks ago, I am in group therapy with 4 other women.
Yep.
And we've been meeting virtually for, since February of last year.
Okay.
March of last year. And I just recently saw them together. Like we had breakfast, and it was so weird because when we saw each other, it was just like little kids were just like, your hair is so long. Oh my God, your glasses are different. And we're just sort of noticing all of these little things about each other that, we're just like, oh my God, it's just like, even though we see each other on Zoom, it was like,
it's not the same.
Like, in person was just so different.
And good, different and good.
Yeah, I felt a lot of emotion about it. It felt like it was like a weird emotion to just be together with my friends again.
But I can only imagine that was sort of odd and weird, as you mentioned, but also so amazing.
It was.
Be back in touch with people that you care about, that also care about you, that you have a high interest in, and knowing how they're doing and noticing those changes. Sometimes we see the people in our lives all the time and we don't really notice the little things.
Yeah.
And then that time apart, we come to not just notice them, but appreciate those things. So good for you.
It felt safe. It felt secure.
Yeah.
I felt like my world was partially okay. I think as I've gone around to see people in person again, it feels like parts of my life is like getting glued back together.
I like that phrase, getting glued back together, because it did feel like it was sort of a rendering, a ripping apart, and a quick one too. And now we're just sort of finding our way back to each other and piecing it back together. And sometimes it's duct tape and sometimes it's Gorilla Glue, and we're trying to like put it back together. So it's nice to be able to see people in real life and hug them, and hopefully we'll keep doing that if this pandemic will just sort of calm down a little bit. That would be nice.
I feel like it's a game plan every day.
Yeah.
What's happening? Who are you seeing? Anyway, what are we talking about today?
So a few years ago, I did a campaign with a company where we talked about digital well-being and, our connection to our phones. Right?
Oh yeah. And like our addiction to our phones.
Well, yes, it was. It was sort of geared towards those of us who feel like we cannot live without our phones. And one of the statistics that came out of that study, that it was with Xfinity Mobile, they learned that a good number of us would rather not eat, not sleep, not be around other people, not drive, not drink water, not have intimate relationships, not any of those things, as long as they could keep their phone. Like they would not be willing to go for a day without their phone.
Yeah.
They would be willing to go for a day without all those other things that I just mentioned, but not their phone. So
I find it, on a side note, I find it super weird the people that talk on their phones in the bathroom. Like you'll be in a public restroom trying to do your business, and there will be somebody in the stall next to you, like going at it in a conversation. I was like, do we not have boundaries, people? Like
where are you going, Cris? I have never heard anybody talking on the phone while they're in the drawn.
I must be going to like some shady bathrooms because it happens so often that I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Wow.
You have to talk on your phone. Can you just say like, excuse me, I really have to pee right now. I will
not answer the phone.
No, they'll be literally full on in conversation as they walk through the door. They'll be
I see.
Like, first of all, how you manage your like your pants and like their logistics with your hands. So I'm just wondering.
Maybe if that sounds like you and you're able to do the juggle of using the bathroom while you talk, we're happy to hear how you do that. I think, maybe.
Please share the logistics. I guess you have to put your phone down somewhere on the floor. Gross.
I don't know. I mean, but what does it say about us as culture, as a people? If we are so attached to our devices that we're willing to give up basic needs and human to human interaction.
Yeah.
And maybe also take a hit to our productivity. So a lot of times, we're getting distracted by those vibrations and the pings and the dings and the notifications and all of that.
Yeah.
But what we talked about when we were off screen was like, well, what would we be willing to give up to hold our phones for a whole day? And would we?
Or what would it take for you to not have your phone for an entire day? Like what? Well, like, if I offered you like $1,000, would you say like, yeah, I don't need my phone for $1,000? Or would it take like $1 million for you to say like, oh, I really don't need my phone for a day? I mean, a day is a really short amount of time.
24 hours.
24 hours is really not that long. So,
okay. How about a weekend? 3 days.
Honestly, I think I could give up my phone for a weekend easily.
Just put it in a box, lock it, and walk away.
Walk away. Yeah.
Okay. No phone calls, no checking social media, no text messages.
No. I couldn't, there is a caveat to it. I could not be completely by myself. Like if you said, lock yourself in a room without your phone for a day, I probably would poke something sharp in my eye. But if I was allowed to have people, I'd be okay.
I would absolutely need people. That would be my main thing. I wouldn't need magazines or books or any of those things. I need another person.
I wouldn't need another person for sure.
I would need to be able to ask questions of that person. I would need to be able to maybe take a walk with that person. So I would need something active, I think, taking a hike, green break, like we talked about a couple episodes ago, where we'd go outside fairly often and do something together with another person. Yeah. I have actually taken 2 weeks off from my phone.
Wow. How long ago was that?
Okay. So last year. So I'd say over the last maybe 4 or 5 years, my family and I have been doing this big family vacation. We didn't really get to do it so much last year because it was a little smaller on the big, not so big, a little bit smaller. But whenever that's happening, even starting at the drive, so we usually take a road trip. And once I get into the car, I do not check any social media. I do not check email. If I happen to, like, if I get a notification on my phone that says, oh, something from the news, if it involved taking me from that article to social media, I did not read it. I would close the app and just put the phone down. I turned on Do Not Disturb, and I made a point of putting the phone away when I was interacting with somebody else. So I didn't look at it for the time.
Yeah.
I would actually use my watch for that. I didn't do anything with it. And so I can do it for 2 weeks, but I have to be doing other things.
Yeah.
Like going to the pool or taking a walk or something active in that regard. So
yeah, you're like engaging in life with your people.
Yes. We did puzzles.
Yeah.
We colored.
Yeah.
We would color with the kiddos. We did lots of games, fun games, interesting games, Cards for Humanity kind of games too. Yeah. So fun, interesting things, but I made a point of putting the phone away, or when I woke up, I would leave it on the nightstand and I would walk away. So physically it was sort of, I don't know, like leaving it behind. It was a conscious leaving it, a separation. It couldn't just be, off to the side on the table, because I would be tempted to pick it up, even just to check the time.
Yeah, that's part of the addiction.
It is the reliance. And maybe some of us don't like that word addiction because we don't feel like we are, but I know myself.
Oh.
I totally know that if it were on the table next to me, I would probably even just hold it or touch it. You don't need to hold it or touch it. You should pick up your phone for a purpose or a reason.
Do you know that sometimes I pick up my phone for a purpose and a reason, and I got so distracted I forget?
That was something else that came out. You forget, right? You forget why you picked it up in the first place.
Yeah, the purpose was really important. Like,
yes.
My friend just had the COVID vaccine, and I wanted to check up on her. Literally, this just happened a little while ago, and I picked up the phone. I was like, I'm going to text my friend, how she's doing, right? Because I don't know about you, but I had a severe reaction the first time. It was like having COVID all over again. I got totally distracted, never checked in on her.
It happens.
Like, that is not cool.
It is sort of, I don't think the makers of our phone set out to distract us. Like, we're going to distract Deb and Cris and any user of any phone, whether you're Android or iOS or Windows or whatever, or if people still use Blackberries. I don't think they say, yep, we're just going to pull these people away from work and pull them away from their friends and family and life. But that's sort of what happens.
No, I disagree with you. I think that, and I think we may have to go dig some research. Yeah. I think the research does show, and I read a lot of.
They're doing it on purpose.
They are doing it on purpose because the little red onesie notification that comes up in the app,
the badge.
That color of like notifications is meant to like make you feel anxious about the fact you have a notification. So your brain wants to go and check on it. It doesn't come in a light green color or
green means go. Red means stop and look or stop and stop. right. So a red badge is going to get your attention. Like, hey, now you have 301 emails in your inbox.
Right.
So it could be that the red should spur you on to jumping into your inbox and going through those emails and doing something with them. Yeah. But I don't know that I can see nefarious activities behind.
Yeah, I think you're being nice to companies.
Am I really? I mean, I did watch a documentary about that.
They're designing, the new currency is data. And
it is.
every time we pick up our phones, we're giving our data away. Like, we are. And companies are interested in that. So I have no delusion that I am addicted to my
deluded.
Phone. Completely addicted to it. Whenever like at the end of the week, I get a little notification from my iPhone that says, here's your weekly report.
That's right.
And it says like, I've been on my phone for an astronomical amount of hours. And I'm thinking to myself like, wow, I thought I was like working 8 hours a day and sleeping 8 hours a day.
Are you using your phone for work?
I guess it counts everything, right? But like
exactly.
Every time you pull out your phone, it counts and it keeps track of that. And I spend so much more time on my phone than I think I do.
That is absolutely true. I don't know that speaks to someone behind the scenes purposefully pushing buttons to make sure that you're always on your phone.
Well, there's some notification that forces me to go in there and be like, oh, what's happening?
Well, so we have that human emotion of the fear of missing out on things.
Sure, yeah.
Right. So when it's a Facebook notification versus an inbox notification, does that matter? Is there a distinction between?
I actually turned off my inbox notifications. Okay. So if you email me, I don't get to know that until the end of the day.
Which is when you schedule time to check it.
Right. Okay. I don't know. And I don't know why, like, honestly, if we're going to talk about like craziness, right? I don't know why that's not an important notification, but like, the news notification is important. I don't know. Maybe my brain thought like, oh, if something happened in the world, I should know right away, and I do, like, sometimes there are tragic things that happen in the news and like, I see it on my notifications, right? But I also subscribe to multiple news reports. So
Yeah.
a lot of notifications, text messaging. I mean, have you ever been in a group text message?
Oh, yes, I have. They are awful.
You'll go away. You'll go, if you're in a text message group of more than 5 people, you'll go away and they're in a conversation. You come back to 60 text messages.
Oh, it's really bad. And then if you do have a sound alert, an audible alert that goes off each time someone replies, it can drive you nuts. And you can leave those conversations, by the way. So for those of you listening who are suffering through them, you can leave the conversation and maybe get the summarized version from a friend that you meet up with. But it can be distracting and it can pull you away. So I think part of this conversation is, how do we develop habits that help us to find I hate saying this word, but balance? How do we is there a way to achieve that kind of balance where you use your phone for the purpose that you need it for, and then put it away when you no longer need it? Because we pick it up and we forget why we picked it up. Or we pick it up and we do what we're supposed to do, and then we notice something else, and then we get sidetracked anyway and go down that rabbit hole.
And I think that the truth is that, like, not having our phones for a day is probably not very realistic for most people.
Maybe if that day were a Saturday.
I think people would argue for any day of the week. Right. So I think what you're saying, and I think is the purpose of this conversation, right, is like to find healthier habits that keep us productive and still let us be, in touch with the world and with our phones. And I know you have some really good, you are probably one of the best people I know about boundaries around their phone.
I really do make a big effort where that's concerned. So it's not without some effort, because I too, just like everybody else, I like playing games on my phone, all of those kinds of things. But I do prioritize my time with people.
Well, not just that, but like, I think the other day you emailed me something that normally I would have texted you, and you specifically said in your email, I'm emailing you this because I don't need an answer right away. And texting you, which requires an immediate response, right?
Yes. And I knew that if you saw the text from me, you probably would reply.
Exactly. So I loved that you not only were thoughtful for yourself, but you also thoughtful to like the time I was spending away.
Yes. Right. And I knew you were going to be away. I really didn't want you to respond to me, but I also know that I would forget if I didn't email you in that moment. I'm
totally with you. And I love that. I love that you did that, and sometimes I do that too, not just as conscious as you did, because I thought it was nice that, like, you mentioned that in your email, like, I could have texted this to you, but I chose to email so you don't have to respond right away, which I think sometimes, like, our phone is like,
it makes you always on.
Yeah. Our phone is a courtesy, right? Yeah. But like, the truth is that on the other end, the other person knows you have your phone all the time, and they expect to be, to get a response immediately. And the truth is that, like, sometimes, I like to have dinner without my phone.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I like to just go outside at the end of the day and like spend an hour out there, just like, I don't know, doing nothing or listening
or anything.
Music. And not being like, attached to like my emails and my text messages and like this world of like, we need immediate response.
We do. I think that's the drawback, and that's the benefit of the phone.
Yeah.
Which the hard part is, the good thing about the phone is also the bad thing about the phone.
Yeah.
Right. The fact that you can respond more quickly than, say, sending a fax. Remember those days when we would send faxes, or even just sending an email. People also now expect a quicker response, which is great if you're working on a project and you're, sort of nose to the grindstone and you're pushing through, and you're all for this specified time frame attached to your phone. Mm-hmm. And then when that time frame is up, we go back to normalcy. But the drawback is we blur the lines between what is needed and necessary, and then what then morphs into reliance or over reliance, or more commonly known as addiction. Mm-hmm. Right. And so what are some of those things that we can do? Because if I'm willing to give up a shower or eating or drinking or time with a loved one or sex so I can have my phone, I mean, we're talking about like some basic human needs. We're not talking about, being on a yacht someplace and going off on a fabulous vacation. We're talking about the things that will sustain you, like food and water. Yeah. If you're willing to give those things up, so then we have to look at things a little differently. If we are in the camp where we can't live without our phone, or we have to look at it every 5 seconds, then I think we have to be honest with ourselves and say, okay, maybe we should be looking at it differently and finding ways to bring it into alignment so you can have a little bit more of a balance and you're not so connected all the time.
Yeah. So I think back to the original question.
Yep.
How long are you really willing to give up your phone for?
All right.
Without any connection to it, completely being off. This is not even
completely off. This is not just looking at it for time or recipe or something like that.
No. I went to see a comedian in a theater.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have been lately, but because they don't want any.
They put it in a little bag or something, right?
Put it in a little magnetized bag.
Yes.
It's like sealed up in that thing.
Is it?
And it was a very interesting social experience. This is before the pandemic, right? Where no one has their phone. Mm-hmm. So people are standing around weirdly for a minute. And then before you know it, like you start talking to people around you. Like you start making friends.
Look at that.
Like old fashioned, right?
And maybe you enjoy what you're watching or participating in a little bit more.
Yeah. People are like, how do you know this comedian? What is your connection? Have you seen these other shows? And you start like mingling with people, right? And then it felt like the volume of the place got louder and louder, and it was like kind of cool. Yeah. But I was like, this was like maybe 3-4 hours at the most.
Okay.
It was like, we got our phones back. But
how did that feel?
It was okay.
Okay.
I was like, I don't have little kids that would be calling me for any reason. Right.
Okay.
I was like, everybody in my world was safe.
Okay.
Without me. So I think there was a level of that independence and safety that I felt like everybody's okay.
Yep.
We're okay. Hopefully nothing crazy will happen in the world, but like, we're okay. We're all together in this. So it just felt okay. But I mean, to have that level of disconnection, I don't know that I could go more than 24 hours.
What you just described, where I wouldn't have it at all for any purpose, for any reason, even something as simple as setting an alarm or looking up a recipe, or someone says, whatever happened to so-and-so artist, and then going and Googling and looking, that would be a little hard for me. So while I have no problem with disconnecting from social media, I think it would be really hard for more than 24 hours for me to be away from my phone altogether. So using it as a phone, using it as a research tool, using it to look up things, like recipes or information I want to know more about, that would be hard. Really, really hard. I'm not going to lie. I can't. I mean, I don't think I could do it for more than 24 hours. I know that probably sounds awful, but
I don't think it sounds awful. I'm in your camp. I love to hear like people out there, like, how long do you think you could go? Like, if you're listening, how long do you think you could go? Because you wouldn't even be able to be listening to a podcast.
Oh, that's true too. Like, no podcast, no books.
Yeah.
No, nothing.
Like nothing that comes from your phone would be available to you. I'm watching Stranger Things. I'm late to the party.
Yeah.
But like, it's set like in like 1983. They have,
we didn't have that.
Old fashioned phones, not to spoil it, but when the mother is waiting for the call, she's sitting on the chair and she's like literally attached to the wall with the old fashioned phone there waiting for the call. And I'm like, wow, we used to be
different back then.
right? There was a time when we actually just went and didn't.
We had payphones, and you'd have to have a quarter to call, and then, but who are you calling? Like, there was no, you'd be calling someone at their home,
yeah,
right? Because nobody walked around with a mobile phone.
How productive were we back then?
I don't even know if we paid as much attention to
productivity. Wasn't a problem back then, right? Because we just did things.
Or maybe it was, and we just handled it differently. We weren't concerned that someone was 5 minutes late and then calling them at 5 minutes after they were supposed to arrive and say, "Where are you?"
Yeah.
Because we couldn't. We just had to wait, and we'd figure out what to do in the wait time. So, it's technology is good, but it's not the technology to me that's bad. It's how we as human beings use it. So I'm going to have to find a way to see if I could push that 24 hours into 48 hours of being without my phone whatsoever. It's an experiment I would have to try, maybe with you, Cris.
Yeah, I'm thinking we should.
Maybe we'll try that.
We should do a challenge day.
Yeah.
Where we just see how long we last.
I don't know. I'm already giving up. I don't know.
Maybe we should pick a day. Maybe a weekend day. Let's start with the weekend day.
I think we could do that. Maybe
24 hours without our phone. Like,
just put it down, walk away.
Pick a Sunday in September.
Yeah. I think I could do that. Pick a Sunday in September. No phone Sunday.
Want to pick one now?
Right now? Oh, wow. You are serious. You're so serious.
I want people to come and join us. So
I do want people to come and join us. Okay. So
you have to pick up your phone to find that one.
I either have to pick up my phone or I have to use the calendar on my laptop. I have to use some kind of technology. I do not have a paper calendar. Do you see how ingrained this is in my life?
This is going to be really challenging in a lot of ways.
I want to say yes to that. So I'm not going to pick up my phone just because we're talking about phones, but I will look at my calendar on my laptop. Let's see. Should we go for the last Sunday in September, maybe the 25th?
Last Sunday in September is the 26th.
Or it's the 26th. Okay, let's go with that.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm writing it down.
All right, people. If you want to join us for our no phone Sundays on September 26th.
Yep.
Try it out. See how long. Does it start at midnight?
Yes, midnight. So get all the games in.
12:01 on the 26th. The challenge starts.
That's right.
You get a good 6 to 8 hours until you get up.
Yep.
See how long we last.
Do make all your phone calls, read all your text messages, play all your games, do all your research, whatever you normally do with your phone. Put it away, put it in a drawer, put it in a different room. Really make it a little bit easier for yourself. I think if you see it, it may be too hard, so put it away.
And I think I'm going to also create, because I learned lessons. Mm-hmm. I'm going to create a list of all of the things that I've forgotten that I use my phone for, that then I had to be reminded that I couldn't do because I didn't have my phone.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I know.
It is a Sunday, so it's not going to be a productive day. It's just going to be a fun day.
Ellaby, I'm curious to hear what people do without the use of their phone.
Yeah.
So you're going to check on what the reasons that you would normally reach for your phone. And I want to hear also, what do you do instead? Do you not do that thing? Do you ask somebody else to look it up on their phone? What do you do? That's not allowed. You cannot use phone by way of a friend. All right. So no phone usage at all.
Literally no phone a friend.
You can't phone a friend. You cannot ask somebody sitting next to you to look something up for you or to use their phone in any way for you. So challenge, the gauntlet has been dropped. Yeah, that's it. No phone Sunday on the 26th.
That's the only rule. You can use your friend's phone instead.
Correct.
All right. And just have to be honest about how long you last.
Yeah, I will totally be honest about how long I last.
I'm going to bet that you're going to win this because I'm going to give in way earlier in the day.
Well,
I'm taking the under on Cris.
You know what? I happen to be a very competitive person. I know it doesn't always appear that way, but I am super competitive. So if there were a prize involved with not using the phone, or I would get bragging rights, I totally would be all about it. I would be more motivated. I need some gamification to
well, maybe we can take all of the people that submit their no phone days for 24 hours and we'll just put their names in a box and there will be a prize.
Okay. I love it. A prize. Awesome. Very good.
A surprise party. Prizes that, since I'm not going to win, I will decide.
You already know it off the bat. You never know.
Okay, I want to see how long it's going to last, but
okay.
All right, so that's the challenge.
Yes.
We hope that you'll participate. Otherwise, you and I will just have fun together.
Yeah, we will. I won't be able to call you, but it's okay.
You won't be able to call me or tell me.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right, you guys, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Productivity Lovers podcast. We will see you next time.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Productivity Lovers podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to subscribe so that you get notified when we upload a new productivity podcast. For more tips and notes from the show, check us out at productivitylovers.com. Talk to you soon.